Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacey and Phil Thompson.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacey.
And my name is Phil Thompson. Thanks for joining us here on our weekly podcast. We are a tech company called JSL Solutions, and we have several products.
We have streamingchurch.tv, Church App Live, and myflock.com.
All right, and of course, streamingchurch.tv is our streaming video platform, and Church App Live is the mobile app, and myflock.com is our church management website, interactive stuff on that. So you can find all those things by going to those websites we mentioned. And this is a podcast that deals mostly with tech-related things, obviously, because that's what we are. That's who we are. But we also are people that go to local churches, and we have a very extensive background in ministry, leadership stuff, pastoral stuff, you name it. We have been involved in it.
Some AV tech stuff.
Yeah, the whole thing, working with volunteers, working with pastors. And so on this podcast, we cover a variety of topics. And sometimes we talk about leadership things, working with volunteers, working with pastors, working with church boards. And of course, we, as we just mentioned earlier, talk about tech-related things as well. So Steve and I have been talking the last two podcast about live encoders. And this is primarily for streaming video. And we've talked about the Flash Media Live encoder, the pros and cons. We talked last week about Wirecast by Telestream, the pros and cons. You can go back and find those on iTunes. Just search for Church Solutions Podcast, as well as many others.
Yeah, we're going to kind of continue the theme. I was just thinking about the Flash Media Live encoder is a free option, and Wirecast is a paid option.
Right.
And today we're going to talk about another paid option and another free option.
Yes, we are. And today we're going to talk about something we recently kind of ran across, and it's called the Open Broadcast Encoder or Open Broadcast Software.
Right.
This is kind of nice.
That's the free one.
That's the free one.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Go ahead.
Vidblaster.
Vidblaster is the one that's not free.
Yeah.
And again, these are software-related products, things you could download on your computer.
Right.
As opposed to box encoders and hardware that you would get and plug in. So Open Broadcaster, let's go ahead and talk about that today.
Right,
I'm kind of excited about it.
Okay.
I kind of like it, and I don't have a lot of experience with it yet, but I like what I've seen so far. So tell us, Mr. Expert, Steve Lacey, on Open Broadcast software.
So Open Broadcast software is an open source piece of software. And so that means a few things. If they have a good community behind them and some passionate developers, that means that it's usually pretty robust stuff, and it's updated often, and the bugs are squashed, and it's free. So
now let me stop for just a moment. Tell us a little bit about this whole open software, because we're not just talking about live encoders. I mean, the whole open software movement has been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been around a long time, as long as there has been software. I mean, Bill Gates introduced the paid proprietary closed software environment, and about that same time, there were people that were really passionate that felt that software should be free, and that you should develop in a very open source manner where the developers can take your source code. You share the stuff freely, and people can improve on the software and move it forward.
So one of my first experiences has been with, you have Microsoft Word, to do your documents and stuff, and Open. What's another one? It's called. I can't think of the name. It's Open
Office.
Open Office. Open Office is kind of along those same lines, right?
Yes.
It's free. It does a lot of the same things that Microsoft Office does, but it's free, and it's open software. Right. There's another one is
LibreOffice. Yeah, actually, I think OpenOffice began the effort, and then actually OpenOffice got bought up.
Okay.
And there was some strife and issues, and so LibreOffice branched off of that. And LibreOffice has kind of taken the mantle with in the open software community as the Office alternative.
Yeah, you can run PowerPoint slides off it.
Yeah, you can
Word documents.
open and save in all the Microsoft formats, and it's got tools that are equivalent to PowerPoint or Word.
Right.
Or
I don't think they can handle Publisher, though. I don't think
they
can.
don't have a publisher, but they do have a draw tool that Microsoft doesn't offer. So,
okay. So we'll get back on topic here, although we're not too far off it because it's open software, and Open Broadcaster goes in that same vein of things. It's a company that the current version is been released just this past month, I think. So they've done some. They seems like they've stayed on top.
Just
of
a few weeks ago is the most recent release on Windows. And they also have, and then last month was the version for Mac. They have two versions. They have a version that's dedicated that only runs on Windows, and then they have a multi-platform version that is targeted to run on a bunch of different platforms.
And again, we're talking about a live streaming encoder here.
Yes.
Just to clarify things. So it runs on Mac. It runs on Windows. Will it run on, what's your favorite software, Ubuntu or whatever it's called?
Ubuntu or Linux is the... Linux. Behind-the-scenes operating system. They have they advertise a version there, and it's kind of alpha. It's not, they have a version that actually I downloaded it and installed it and ran it on the machine you're running off of there.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a camera hooked up, so I couldn't see the inputs, but it's kind of a pre-release state on Linux, but it'll go through some iterations. So the Open Broadcaster software, where it gets its background, or where I think there's going to be a lot of activity with this thing, is the whole gaming world has become a spectator sport. My kids are really into it. I'm not really that much into it, but they talk about the pro gamers and their six-figure incomes and the audiences that the gamers get online, primarily through Twitch, which was recently purchased by... Who were they purchased by?
I've heard of it, but I don't know. My son's a gamer, but I don't think to the degree that your kids are.
Yeah. Shoot, I can't remember. One of the big three companies here in the world bought Twitch. I can't remember.
Okay.
Or the top five, in that whole tech arena. I can't remember who they were. Anyway, so they'll get tens of thousands of viewers watching these gamers, these high-level gamers. And so what that does is there's a whole gaming community that wants to broadcast their pieces. As we mentioned, Flash Media Live Encoders, 5-6 years old now, is not being updated, won't be maintained in the future. Plus, it doesn't have some of the features that this Open Broadcaster software tool has for broadcasting in the gaming arena.
Interesting. Yeah. So obviously I'm not interested in gaming. Maybe some people here are, but we're primarily talking about streaming video,
right?
Where you want to stream your services.
Stream your services live, yeah. But as I mentioned, it's streaming video, but it's streaming video of people playing video games.
Right. Yeah. And that's I found in the overall secular world that when you talk about streaming video, that's what most people think of. Oh yeah, gaming. We want to stream our gaming stuff.
Yeah, or they think of Netflix. Yeah, I got streaming video.
That's
that's the other one.
Yeah.
I'm watching my movies via streaming, which is the same kind of thing. But
right.
the gaming world is kind of behind this OBS. So just by the fact that the most recent release was this month. I haven't looked at the version history, but I am guessing they're pushing out releases either once a month or in a similar frequency to that.
Okay. So this is an alternative mainly to Flash Media Live Encoder because it is free.
Yes.
And we talked last week about Wirecast as a very good product, but it's a paid product. But there are some features here with Open Broadcaster that seem to me like they could be even much better than Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder.
Definitely.
Seems that way to me.
Yeah, definitely. So the number one thing, there's a few things that are going to set it apart. For one, you can have an unlimited number of what they call scenes and sources or sources.
Okay.
And so with Flash Media Live Encoder, it's going to take one video and one audio input.
Right.
And with this, you can feed in multiple video inputs.
So you could have 2 or 3 cameras.
You can have 2 or 3 cameras going.
And you don't need a switcher in front of it like you would for Flash or something.
Right. So if you have multiple video cards on your computer or a way to your computer recognize the multiple video sources, including the desktop, which is one of the features that Wirecast has, is you can do, they have desktop presenter, they can do it any desktop on the network. The way this is set up is it will be the desktop that this thing is running on.
So you could use ProPresenter, you could use anything that your church uses to put PowerPoint, to put up different images. You could use that and stream it. Where with Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder, again, you're stuck unless you have some kind of a switcher in front of it.
Right. Yeah. So
okay.
So that's one of the nice things. There's features you do get with Wirecast that are not going to be available here that are going to really kind of up your game, and that's the ability to do overlays and create a real professional appearance on
green screens and stuff.
Yeah, you don't have that quite yet with this open broadcast software.
Okay.
Called OBS. If you go obsproject.org is where you can find this.
Okay. Repeat that again.
It's obsproject.org, I believe.
Okay.
I should double check and make sure.
Just do a search. Do a search for Open Broadcaster on Google.
Yeah, that'll show it up as well. But it's either obsproject.net or obsproject.org. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. All right, so you've got unlimited number of scenes and sources, and then you've also got the ability to do separate record and separate streaming.
Right.
buttons,
So
right?
you can, unlike Flash Media Live Encoder, there's just one start button, and it's going to start the record and the streaming at the same time. This will allow you to start the stream anytime you want, and then start the record anytime you want as well.
Very nice. That's cool. And then for Flash Media Live Encoder, you could only save your file. Speaking of saving your archives on your hard drive, you can only save it to a .flv, or it would be a
F4V.
F4V.
Yeah.
And those are, especially the .f4v, is just a nightmare, to somebody that doesn't code or doesn't do things to try to edit that.
Yeah.
But with this, with Open Broadcaster, you have an option of saving it as a .flv or a .mp4.
Yes.
That's nice.
A much more common format.
Easier to edit.
Yeah, easier to edit. More programs are going to be able to open it and make changes to it and view it. So, that is really nice.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right. So what else can we look at as far as the pros for Open Broadcaster software?
So on the pros side, as I mentioned before, it's got the screen capture support, which is kind of where I think the majority of the thrust is the gaming environment. So they want to be able to broadcast your game you're playing. They also advertise on the website that there's some near-term upgrades coming in place. And you can, with this, since it is open source software, you can go in and kind of dig into the bowels and look at what's coming up and download a version that may have some bugs that's not ready for prime time yet, and that sort of thing. So, but they're advertising multiple stream outputs, which would be another really nice feature. And right now it doesn't have scene previewing. So with Flash Media Live Encoder and Wirecast, you can say, I'm going to queue this shot up, and it'll show you the shot that's getting ready to go live, and then you just hit the the go button. With this, it just has the one screen that's going to be the live screen, and you start broadcasting.
Preview, really. Okay. All right, good. All right, so it sounds like a pretty good deal here, but are there any downside to this?
Well, the downsides and some of the cons are that, obviously there's not going to be a toll-free number to call and have their tech support walk you through it. And I don't think you have that with Flash Media Live Encoder anymore either.
No, you don't. No.
So, but on the, so the support may be a little more limited as far as getting to somebody to help you, although they do have a very robust forum. And so you can pretty much, actually more so than I've seen with Flash Media Live Encoder. And such the fact that you can go there and you can search on any issues you were having, make any requests for new features, and it looks like a very lively forum area.
So chances are if you post a question on their forum, somebody's going to pop in with an answer.
Yeah, and they actually have, I said that you can't call a toll-free number, but they do have live chat, which is kind of interesting.
Wow,
so
I didn't
you
know
can.
that.
And the live chat is really, it's a community-supported live chat. It's not like like we have where there's operators standing by to address your deal. These are other people that are very familiar that are just contributing their time, I believe, to help people out. And so you can go to live chat, and typically if you're in, if it's hours of the day when there's going to be somebody there, it will post, your live, your question will come up and somebody will address it. So it's really, I think the future is very bright for this.
Okay.
And I was looking through their website. It's actually been around for quite a while, but it hasn't really hit the light of day until recently with some, version 1.0 type of thing. I think they've had some pre-release versions.
So it's important for you to understand, listeners to this podcast, that we don't have a ton of experience working with it yet. We've done some testing, and we like what we've seen. And if you're somebody that's doing streaming video and you want to try it, I would say, go for it. But make sure that you have a little patience and understand what you're dealing with here, and then understand that you're welcome to call us, and we'll certainly try to help you with it. But we're not. We have a lot of experience with Flash. We have a lot of experience with Wirecast and some other stuff. Telecasters or not.
We don't have the
but,
experience here, but as I mentioned, you have probably the first place to go would go to either live chat or the forum, and you'll probably get your answer there. Yeah. And this is going to be more of a early adopter type of product. Somebody that's willing to possibly put up with some issues that may occur. But
right. But it's worth a shot. But I would again give yourself some flex time there. If you're going to really mess around with it, go in with the attitude, okay, we're going to try this, see how it works, and don't try to set it up Sunday morning and then you're going to try to live stream, 10 minutes later. Probably not a good idea.
No, not a good idea using any encoder, but because we often are at the other end of that with hearing the band or the pastor blaring in the background while they're trying to make something work, and
for the first time
ever. Yes. So we highly recommend that. Take a day in the middle of the week when you got some time and some quiet, and try to make it work. If you have trouble, then give us a call then, and that will definitely be a much better time.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So as we continue to our theme here on our podcast about live streaming encoders that are software based, we've got one more to talk about.
Yes, we've got another that we actually don't have a lot of experience with, but we've kind of dove into it. It's probably been a few years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it was Vidblaster, and it is run by a company named Combitech, which is owned by Mike Versteeg. And so a lot of the references when you're going for company support is going to send you to Mike.
Okay.
So I kind of get the feeling this is something that Mike had put together, and he's got probably a lot more limited market than say a Wirecast would, because Wirecast is definitely out there and very prominent. This is going to be a tool that I don't think is on quite as many desktops or on as many computers.
So it's a Vidblaster. So tell us a little bit about Vidblaster. Is it available?
So Vidblaster is a Windows-only product.
Okay.
I was searching for the current version of it, and I couldn't nail down a date. And actually, if you get into if you Google Vidblaster, it'll take you to their site. They have several variations of products. So there's different levels of products, and then within each of the levels, there's also different licensing agreements, and so the pricing can go all over the place. So just a ton of different flavors of this.
Okay.
Seemed like there were, you could end up with probably a dozen different licensing choices with a dozen different prices on the thing.
Would you say that this is, again, kind of more geared towards the gaming community or not?
I'm not sure if it's geared towards the gaming, because it's more of a, I mean, the OBS one is kind of, I think its primary user is going to be the gaming guys, and so they're not real interested in a green screen and some other things, whereas this one is looks more like a production studio, more like Wirecast. Wirecast looks more like so things with lower thirds and, nice transitions and those sort of things. So I think it's more geared towards somebody wanting to produce their own show. So it'd be, kind of geared towards the church industry as well.
All right. So it does have the capability of giving you lower thirds.
Yes.
And then you've got, as you were saying earlier, you do have a lot of features, picture-in-picture.
Yeah, picture-in-picture, and the chroma key with the green screen. They have multiple layers. It looks like on the surface a lot of the same features that you're going to see in Wirecast.
Okay. Do they give you any kind of this is a paid deal, as you mentioned earlier, so is there any kind of a free trial?
Well, they do offer a free trial, and it does include a watermark, so I think it's a similar kind of setup to the Wirecast deal. So we haven't spent a lot of time with it. We've loaded it and played with it. I don't think a customer of ours has told us that they're using it. Do you know?
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. I remember a few years ago I loaded it and messed around with it. I think Don Young from that was one of our web hosts was messing around with it as well. And I don't know anybody that's using it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So we can't attest to the reliability, the robustness, or we know it works, but we haven't haven't gone beyond that.
And again, if you're out there looking for alternatives for streaming encoders, maybe an alternative to Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder, you could certainly download this and you could do the free trial. And you could certainly mess around with it. And again, as we just said earlier, don't call us, we'll call you. Kind of a
and a lot of times, you download a piece of software and it just clicks for you. It's it's like, okay, this is how I would have designed this, and it works for you. As opposed to you look at something like, what is going on and how do I make it work? So it's set up differently than say Wirecast is, but maybe it strikes a nerve with you in a good way. It says, I like how this thing works, and so I want to dive into it.
Yeah, it's different. Things suit different people. So getting back to the cost, you said that it's kind of all over the map, but do you have any kind of a...
So there was as I was digging through here, there's a home version, a pro version, a studio version. It looked like the one that would fit the spot for the church would be the pro version, which is priced at $495, which is what the same price as Wirecast, the lower end Wirecast. And that was for a single user license. They also offer a desktop license. So I'm not sure exactly what the difference is, but I assume that it must have a password or something, or you can only install it for a single user on Windows, as opposed to make it available to every user on Windows.
Okay.
So, but the $495 was the single user licensing version.
All right. So that's Vidblaster, Vidblaster, Vidblaster.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. I mean, we're talking cons. The cost is definitely a con. I don't know if this is a con or not, but we don't have much experience with it, so it's not as popular as some of the others. And the other piece was that it's Windows only, so there is no Mac version.
Okay, interesting. All right, good. All right, so we've covered Vidblaster. We've covered today Open Broadcaster software. And are we going to continue our little deal next week?
I think we're out of encoders.
What about some of the hardware, though? We should probably talk about TriCaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could do that.
We should probably talk about a couple of these. There are some hardware-based encoders that you would call box, I guess, encoders. Let's probably cover that a little bit next week because they are popular.
Yeah, the TriCaster and that Blackmagic TV Studio in a box, they call it ATEM.
Yeah,
we have some customers using that as well.
Yeah, we can cover that next week, but I don't think that streams all by itself.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
You have to have something else. So
right.
It's great for, when we talk about streaming, and as we wrap up here, let me just make a mention of this too, and that is that a lot of times you have to be careful when you buy something that says it will stream, because it may not necessarily stream to like servers, Wowza servers.
Yes.
It streams in-house.
Yes.
So if you want to do some things, you have a fairly large facility and you want to stream to different rooms or different options there, do video and produce a nice DVD. Some of those things are great for that.
Right. That's we've run into that as well.
ATM, or what is it? I don't have it here in front of me, but the Black Magic device, which is a really nice device, but it won't stream to Wowza servers.
Right. So the key distinction is, people look at the box and go, oh, it says it streams, so I can stream live. Yeah. And you can stream live, but it's not going to support a large audience. So you can have a handful of people connect to that particular box on your network in your facility, and it'll support that, but it's not going to support a large group of thousands of people like that we provide. Yeah. So
So that's just. But we'll talk a little bit about. I'd like you to talk a little more about the TriCaster. There's several models out there. We can give a quick overview. You've had a lot of experience with TriCaster in the past. That's and again those are kind of expensive, but they have their value.
Yeah.
There's also another unit that we'll talk about too that escapes me right now. One of our customers is using it, really likes, and so. All right, sounds good. So, folks, if you want to get a hold of us, questions about really anything, we do streaming, we do mobile apps, we do church management stuff, we even do some leadership stuff with people. You can just send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv, and that's the best way to get a hold of us. You can always go to one of our websites like streamingchurch.tv. It's a website. You can go to that and contact us there. But we're available on iTunes. We put this podcast on several different formats. We're actually on YouTube. If you look for Phil Thompson Live, that's my YouTube channel, and I've just always used it. And we have a lot of company stuff on there. And one of those is our podcast, just audio. And then we are on iTunes. Just search for Church Solutions Podcast, so you can subscribe to it as well, and you can never miss a podcast.
There you go.
And give us a rating. Give us a review. Tell us how great we are, or not. So, and then we're on newmediaministries.tv. We usually post, it's really our little weekly newsletter. It's on newmediaministries.tv. And we put the podcast on there too. So, all right. Good job, Steve. Nicely done.
All right. Well, enjoyed it.
All right. Well, we enjoyed it too. And again, thanks, folks, for spending some time with us today. He's Steve Lacey. I'm Phil Thompson. We hope that you have a great week, and we will catch you next time for another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.